Have you ever come home from a networking meeting and felt absolutely disgusted and exhausted? Maybe you hate networking as much as I do. Hey, Adele Wong here, and welcome to the podcast around how to create a life and livelihood that really works amidst massive change. I used to go to these local Chamber of Commerce mixers because I felt like I was supposed to, and I absolutely hated it. And I couldn't quite figure out why I hated it so much. And I had a feeling that just about everyone there in the room hated it as well, but they kind of tolerated it. They put up with it. And I think I made myself go a whopping 3 or 4 times before I said, this just is not working. Not only was it the wrong crowd for me, but I couldn't stand the experience. And I've taken some time to think about why I find these events so gross and how AI is making them even grosser. If you run a business, you've probably been told how important it is to network. Here's the thing. There's different kinds of networking events. And in this clip, I'm just talking about the local Chamber of Commerce type of networking. Networking happens a million different ways, and I'll have other clips on that. But this one, I just want to talk about this phenomena that happens at your local chamber. If you're like me, you show up and there's a big room of maybe 50 people crammed in there. And one by one, you go around the room and everyone stands up one at a time and tells everybody their name, what they do, a little bit about their business. There's usually a timekeeper there that's counting down literally the seconds that each person is allowed to speak. And a timer goes off, and that person is expected to finish up and move on to the next person. I'm here to tell you, it is tedious, boring, and for me, completely unproductive. And I've noticed that in some of these events, the same people go every week. And I took a look at their businesses. And this is no shade on these kinds of businesses. There are businesses that depend a lot on what I call a certain, making friends so that people know and maybe they'll trust and buy from you. So in some of these groups, people develop friendships and they actually buy from each other. Whether that's the local realtor or a yoga teacher, or there are a number of businesses that depend on this ecosystem of people getting to know and like and trust you personally because you are what is called a personal brand. Maybe you're an investment advisor. Maybe you're a roofer. Maybe you are even a business coach or a therapist. But your business becomes about you and your personal brand. And personal brand means people have to get to know you. And for people to get to know you, it means going out and meeting people, direct contact in networking events, especially if your audience are other people kind of like you, who are also solopreneurs or small business owners. And I think that's fine. The problem is, what I've noticed is, number one, no one's really listening at these events. People are politely sitting there, waiting for their turn. One by one, people aren't really listening, or maybe a few people are. But most people are waiting for their 29 seconds to stand up in front of 50-some people and tell the world what they do. And it becomes a spewing of information towards the audience. Let me tell you everything a little bit about me and hope that you might find me worthy of a conversation. And sometimes that works. But you'll notice that the energy is not really one of a conversation. It's really what feels to me like a compressed identity marketing arena, meaning everyone is kind of performing. It's a trained performance protocol, and we all understand it has a time and a place for it. And in fact, a lot of people have rehearsed their blurb beautifully. It just flows out of their mouth. And sometimes people even have what I call like a cute tagline. Hi, my name is so-and-so, and I'm your blah, blah, blah for the blah, blah, blah. Something like that. And it's very cute is the best way I can describe it. And I used to wonder, well, do I have to do that too? I don't have anything like that. But I just noticed that I did not enjoy these events. And I thought there was something wrong with me. Oh my gosh, Adele, you're not networking correctly. First of all, it took a while for me to realize that these are not really my audience of leaders that I'm trying to reach. And it's a great place for other kinds of business leaders. But even if you are in this group, you will if you're sensitive like me, you probably don't enjoy it. It might be a necessary evil. You make yourself go every Tuesday at 7:45 in the morning for donuts or whatever. And maybe you go home exhausted, or maybe you have one or two leads and oh my gosh, you just can't stand it. Or maybe you've come to enjoy it because you've developed friendships there. And that's fine too. And you're hearing the same blurbs every week where people stand up and introduce themselves and what they do. But it's unmistakable to me that it is still a performance protocol. What I mean by that is Chamber of Commerce mixers and these types of networking events, they're not really designed for discovery, mutual conversation or curiosity, collaboration. Although that's what we would all hope for, right? They are designed for a rapid categorization, offer compression, memory hook optimization. That's the cute title. And it becomes an exercise in your self-branding rehearsal. You may be even scanning the room for pipeline of who might be a lead. Everybody's looking for leads. And again, this is no disrespect to these events, but what I'm describing is an energetic dance of what's happening in the room, so that when you go to these events, you know the name of the game and you can use it to your advantage. But these types of events, to me, are like human pitch decks walking around. Everyone gets 29 seconds to get up and have all eyes on them and tell everybody what they do. And if someone has a tagline, I'm your blah, blah, blah person for the blah, 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 that is a type of what's called a cognitive compression device. It's designed to make you legible in 5 seconds, maybe get you sort of mentally sorted into a category or trigger a pattern recognition. And it will subconsciously answer the question, what kind of business object are you? But it doesn't really address who are you. Now, this is not a flaw. This is the actual purpose of these rooms. But what I'm getting to is that might be fine. And many people going to these events end up feeling absolutely nothing. Because these blurbs people are performing and repeating, they may sound great. People may even smile. But my nervous system is tuned into things like relational presence, texture, meaning, the truth of things. And taglines to me don't really have a texture. I'm your blah, blah, blah for the blah, blah, blah. Call me when you have do, do, do. It's great, but there's no real relational stake. There's no risk. There's no listening because it's a performance. One person speaks and everyone listens. And people are being talked at more than talked with because that's the way it goes. It's not mutuality. These blurbs become kind of like an identity flashcard. So my body would go to these things and I couldn't feel a connection. I could feel a classification. Oh, you're a realtor, you sell cosmetics, you're whatever. But for me, since I'm so wired for these other things, energetically, relational, I would go home feeling irritated, fatigued, bored, almost a sense of violation to myself. Like, why did I make myself do this? Can you relate? If you're a sensitive relationship deep thinker, you probably have had this experience. If you've gone and developed friendships there, great. But I'm just articulating why so many people find these events just intolerable. Even when someone gets up and talks about the importance of being authentic, you've heard me speak before that anyone who has to talk about how authentic they're being or the importance of being authentic or authenticity, by definition, you're not, right? If you have to tell everyone you're being authentic, that's kind of still performing. It is a type of what I call a brand warmth simulation. By this, I mean that people are trained at these events to say things like, I love helping people about blah, 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 or I'm passionate about blah, 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 or I really care about blah, blah, blah. But what I noticed in my body is that nothing was actually happening relationally. Like I would nod, and my body would hear safe vulnerability language with zero relationship consequence. And that feels fake, even when it's sincere. So I think this style of networking is going to collapse, and it's actually going to feel worse now because of why? Because AI is going to make everyone's taglines easier and snappier. AI is going to polish everyone's blurb. It's cheaper. You can generate a script faster. You can create authentic language at scale. So what happens when an entire room does this? It's as if the entire room inflates. In a way, it's a type of like a social inflation. The compression gets tighter. The performance gets louder. The texture of what I'm listening to in the moment, it just disappears. It all sounds great. And the reason why me and many other people go home just exhausted is because there's nothing there, even though everyone was really nice. So I want to just address the whole tagline thing, because this was something I researched. Am I supposed to have a tagline? Well, yes, on LinkedIn I do, but I don't go around telling everybody, spewing my tagline. But if you go to these events, if your main goal is some sort of lead capture, like if you're fishing for leads, does a cute tagline work? Well, yeah. It's a memory hook. It's a funnel entry. But does it form trust? And the answer is a clear no. Does it help create real relationship? No. Long-term depth? No. Meaningful collaborations? Absolutely no. It's not wrong. It's just not human scale. I hope you can feel into what I'm trying to articulate. That these events become kind of like an extraction market, not a relationship field of a true conversation. You're being broadcast 50 messages and you have your moment of 29 seconds. So it's cognitively expensive because you're paying attention, but it's emotionally dry. And this is causing people to sort of reject this type of social protocol. And I'm going to give you a secret here. In case no one's ever told you, most people in these rooms feel what you feel too. They just override it and keep performing because they feel like they have to. It's kind of like, this is what you need to do to run a business, which is why they get tired, cynical, and quietly burnt out. Because they think there's no other way, but there is another way. And here's the thing. As AI takes more center stage, trust levels of going to these events are going to go down. I'm already noticing this. It's been documented. You go to an event, you give someone your business card, and you're immediately just sucked into someone's funnel that generates a whole bunch of sequenced campaign, nurture sequence, all AI generated, all done in half a second. And you're even less likely to want to really meet up with somebody. Some of follow-ups, people get ghosted. Why? because the AI is generating all these meeting requests. Hey, let's follow up. Hey, let's have a conversation. And you on the receiving end kind of know that. So you get people ghost each other. And that is driving down the receptiveness, the trust from these networking events. Now, the personal aspect is still going to be perhaps more trustworthy than any email follow-up. But I think you can see the inflation that's starting to happen. I call it the social networking inflation. You got to do a lot more because of this, at least in this model with the Chamber of Commerce, knowing that you're sucked into someone's funnel and poof, before you get home, you got a bunch of follow-up emails for a phone call or whatnot. So that is what I call kind of an extractive room. People go there to fish and get something, because you'll notice when you're talking, are they really listening, or are they just waiting for their turn to speak? I think there are better ways for, especially if you're a sensitive, introverted person, maybe it's fine to go to some of these events once in a while. I could not stand to do it every week, but some people do. But you don't have to. And there are other ways that connection can be built besides subjecting yourself to this week in and week out, so that you can design your version of a human scale introduction that actually works, that feels good to you. The Chamber of Commerce way is just one way. And sometimes if the stars are aligned and someone is in the room that's exactly who you want to meet, that's wonderful. But I would consider whether the juice is worth the squeeze, like my chiropractor mentioned one time. And you can do a cost-benefit analysis on your own energy and time, knowing that there are other ways to connect to real humans that can feel good to you. What do you think of this topic? I'd love to hear from you. Do you like these kinds of networking events? Have you found a way that works? I know some people are very intentional going to these. They don't get drained. They know exactly what they're trying to accomplish. They're in and out of there, and they know who they want to reach. And that is great if your kind of person is in the room. I tend to work with mid-level managers and leaders. They're not going to the local chamber. I go to the local Chamber of Commerce for other reasons in developing connections with people, which is still valid. But my gosh, I can't do it more than once in a blue moon. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks.